Welcome back. Now, Sasol has thrown the local gas industry a lifeline. A lifeline so crucial that it only buys the country 2 more years to secure alternative gas sources to avert a looming gas cliff. The petrochemical and energy giant supply commitments to the country was due to expire in June 2028, but will now end in 2030. Jaco Human, who's the CEO of the Industrial Gas Users Association of South Africa, stresses the need for a clear strategy to secure gas supply moving forward. He joins us now with more details. Jaco, hi, good to chat to you this lunchtime. How are we looking for supply? Because this is very worrying. Like I've just read now, Sasol's saying, okay, 2 more years. What happens then?
Right, thank you. You're quite correct. I mean, 2028 is June 28 to be exact, is the time when Sasol will stop supplying natural gas, which we are dependent on at the moment. And that simply is due to the natural resource that is in decline at the moment in Mozambique. Now, Sasol indeed are looking at plans to implement plans to extend that with another 24 months. However, in this particular industry, 24 months is a very short period of time. But it is absolutely critical that, from Sasol's perspective, that we are able to bring that to essentially from June 28 to 2030. Now, beyond that point, we actually don't have a conceivable plan today as South Africa. Our problem is not gas molecules. We can source gas molecules all over the world. Our problem is the development of much needed infrastructure in the country to deliver and receive that gas to points of consumption.
You see, that's the problem. So what is government saying about this? We've got Gwede Mantashe, he is our minister. Is there a plan here?
We don't know. That's the short answer. And that is, of course, is of grave concern. So we believe that in order to bridge this particular gas cliff and to unlock this infrastructure problem that we refer to, we actually need to, as a country, stack and align our demand for gas. Now, industry has got a certain block. It is not sufficient to underwrite this infrastructure. Eskom represents significant gas consumption, and so do Sasol, and so do private power developers. Now, that takes political leadership to align this demand, and we need to commit as a country on a certain profile. We're far from that point. Secondly, we need to take that particular demand and the infrastructure requirement that goes with that and to put it in a particular fiscal framework, which even doesn't exist today. Gas infrastructure doesn't carry any fiscal frameworks to support large infrastructure projects of this nature. So much to do, but we simply don't know where the state is at this point in time.
Sure, that's very, very concerning. Where would we get our gas from? You've got LNG. Would that come from Mozambique? That could come down from Mozambique. I'm thinking of the west coast of Angola. What's on standby here?
Correct. So you rightly point out that we see significant developments in the manufacturing of LNG in the north of Mozambique, and so in Angola, and so in Nigeria as well. These are all global commodities destined for global consumption all over the world. It doesn't necessarily mean that, we will get our gas from X, Y, and Z. They all go into large portfolios which are global in nature. However, what we anticipate is that in order to bridge the gas cliff, we will be reliant on LNG that would come from these global portfolios. And then, of course, that is the first part of our gas trajectory in South Africa. The second part has to be regional gas, and on that we very much focused on the development of West Coast gas. In fact, we are at the cusp now of actually starting a study to look at the feasibility of landing that gas in Sasolburg.
Sure. You see, now that's interesting. So all the sort of working parts are in place, but we need government action on this. If we don't get this government action, where do we stand? I mean, I would think they're massive producers who need gas, and if this doesn't happen, we could lose jobs.
Projects of this nature are quite complex, and they are bilateral in nature. You need proper political sponsorship in order to drive and develop these projects. The private sector has long said that we are able and willing to support government's actions and plans. If it doesn't happen within the next 12 months, the gas cliff actually begins by this time next year. not 2030, as we say, because we need to commit as a country to then. So coming back, if we don't get that right, investment has already been halted as a result of this particular gas uncertainty, gas energy uncertainty. Our members, large industrial, mining and manufacturing concerns, are not investing until this problem is solved. So that may not impact us right now, but it will certainly impact us later. If we don't have gas energy, much of these industries will simply lock up.
Sure, that's very, very, very concerning. Perhaps this does present an opportunity. And I'm thinking about South African gas as well. I spoke earlier about Mozambique. Angola, you told us about Nigeria. Is this not a situation where we should start getting our own gas operations? And again, I think off the West Coast, there are massive gas deposits there, Jaco.
Right. It is critically important for the economy of South Africa that we leverage that exact opportunity. To put it in simple language, if we are reliant on LNG, LNG is typically in the region of about $12 to $15. In fact, the IRP that's been issued is assumed to be $15 gas, but that is very expensive gas and based on LNG. Regional gas or domestic gas, if we can focus, for example, on West Coast gas, and we can leverage those opportunities, of course, economically, you're probably in the region of $6 to $8 per gigajoule. And that's a significant impetus, even for the manufacturing and mining sector in South Africa. We need that. We need that set of economics in order to reignite the economic growth. So for us, it is very, very important. We cannot drive and manufacture this country on LNG. It is important to bridge us. We need exposure to LNG, but we also need to limit that exposure. So the problem that we also have is, of course, particularly on the South African side of the border, are the continuous litigation that is taking place, and in many instances foreign sponsored.
Yeah, Jaco, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. I do hope that our Minerals Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is watching this interview, and perhaps we can take it from there and come up with a solid plan, a solid policy as well. Jaco, thank you so much. That was Jaco Human, the CEO of the Industrial Gas Users Association of South Africa.